Leaving the Jahan this morning, we drive through the rich lands of the Mekong Delta to Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, home to 7 million people. Built along the Saigon River, this vibrant city is a mix of culture and commerce, with the old alleys and markets giving way to new skyscrapers. South Vietnam's former presidential palace is known today as the Reunification Palace. When Saigon surrendered to the north at the end of the war, the first communist tanks in Saigon crashed through these gates on the 30th of April 1975.
Here they are playing the handball.
The red brick neo-Romanesque Notre Dame Cathedral with its 40-metre high towers was built between 1877 and 1883. Saigon's central post office was designed and constructed by Eugene Eiffel in the late 1880s in neoclassical style. It now features a portrait of Uncle Ho alongside original maps of the city dating back to 1892. Constructed in 1897 to the design of French architect Eugène Ferré, the Saigon Opera House was built as a classical opera house with 800 seats to entertain French colonists. This is the French colonial building of the People's Committee Hall on Ho Chi Minh Square. Today we take a short flight to Da Lat, a former French hill station in the Central Highlands. We stay at Anamandara Villas, set on a hillside within lovely gardens, a resort comprising 17 restored colonial-style villas originally constructed by French settlers in the 1920s and 30s.
Have 35 million motorbikes in Vietnam.
Yeah, and 1.5 million cars, you said?
1.8 million cars.
1.8 million cars.
And
1 more million motorbikes per year.
Per year.
Yeah.
We have new. And do you know nước mắm, fish sauce?
Yes.
Oh yes.
We have. Do you know how many liters we produce in a year in Vietnam?
No.
So around over 205 million liters of milk mum fish sauce every year.
You must like it.
86 million.
So the population is 86 million.
Yeah, and 4 million living in abroad, US, Australia, and other
And
countries.
4 million overseas.
And we have around 3.6 million members of Communist Party.
3.6 members of the
3.6.
Communist.
Yes.
Lat Village is one of several villages near Dalat which are home to members of the Lat ethnic minority hill tribes people. The Emperor Bao Dai's Art Deco summer palace was built in 1933. It was used as a retreat by the family of Bao Dai, the last king of Vietnam. The Hang Na Crazy House is the work of Dong Viet Na, the daughter of Vietnam's president in the 1980s. It's been described as a freewheeling architectural exploration of surrealism. Overall, the design resembles a huge tree, filled with animals, mushrooms, spiderwebs and caves. It's a guest house opened in 1990 with 10 animal-themed rooms, including the bear, the ant and the kangaroo. Stairs and hallways are designed to resemble tunnels and caves. After a short flight to Da Nang, we transfer by road to Hoi An and the lovely Riverside Life Heritage Resort. Hoi An on the Tubon River was an international trading post as far back as the 17th century. The old town has been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site to preserve its historic architecture influenced by Chinese, Japanese and European cultures. The Japanese covered bridge dates from 1593 and has a temple built into one side. Tailor-made clothing is one of Hoi An's best trades, with over 200 tailor shops in town and many shops selling shoes handmade to order. A boat ride along the Tubon River shows more of the town and its surroundings. Marble Mountains near Da Nang consist of 5 marble and limestone outcrops that were once islands. They were named according to the 5 elements of the universe: gold, wood, water, fire and earth. The water mountain, Tui Son, is the only one open to visitors and contains many caves and grottos. Huyen Cong Cave, containing Buddhist and Confucian shrines, was the base for Viet Cong revolutionaries during the war and was used by them as a field hospital, undetected by the American base in nearby Da Nang. Tam Tai Pagoda, originally dating back to 1630, was rebuilt by Emperor Min Mang in 1825. Don't know why, but we bought a rock. China Beach, a favourite R&R for American servicemen based at Da Nang. The Museum of Cham Sculpture contains the world's finest collection of sandstone sculptures taken from sites throughout this area, which was occupied by the Cham people from the 2nd to the 17th century. Leaving Da Nang, we drive north over the picturesque Hai Van Pass, passing the Gulf of Cao Hai en route to Hue. We check into La Residence Hotel on the banks of the Perfume River for our 2-night stay in Hue. A World Heritage Site, Hue is the cultural and spiritual heart of Vietnam and the capital of the Nguyen emperors. Emperor Gia Long commenced construction of Hue's moated citadel in 1804. Built on the northern bank of the Perfume River within 6-metre high and 2.5 kilometre long walls, it was heavily bombed by the Americans during the Tet Offensive. Inside the imperial city, the Forbidden Purple City was reserved for the emperor and his family. The 21-metre-high Phuoc Tien Tower of the Tien Mu Pagoda has 7 stories, each dedicated to a different Buddha, and was built in 1864. In 1710, this giant bell weighing 3,285 kilos was added, along with a large marble turtle, the symbol of longevity, in 1715. These are some of the 12 huge wooden sculptures of temple guardians with real facial hair near the entrance. The Tien Mu, or Heavenly Lady Pagoda, is one of the oldest religious buildings in Vietnam, dating to 1601. We take a dragon boat back to Hue along the perfumed river. The tomb of the 4th Nguyen Emperor Tu Duc, who died in 1883 aged 53, is a beautiful sight set in a pine forest with a lake and many frangipani trees. The elaborate hilltop tomb of the second last Nguyen Emperor Khai Din, who died in 1925, is a mix of Western and Eastern architecture. We arrive in Vietnam's capital, Hanoi, and check into the lovely Colonial Metropole Hotel before embarking on a cyclo tour of the Old Quarter. The presidential palace next to the mausoleum was built in the early 1900s to house the French Governor-General of Indochina. Uncle Ho refused to live in the palace, instead choosing to live and work in this simple stilt house with the meeting room downstairs. There's a bunker alongside. After his death in 1969 at the age of 79, a mausoleum was built for Ho Chi Minh's embalmed remains. The one-pillar pagoda was built in the shape of a lotus in 1049 during the Li dynasty. Ho Hoan Kiem, or Lake of the Restored Sword, was once part of the Red River. Legend has it that King Li Tai To was given a fairy sword by the golden turtle god. While the king was boating on the lake, a turtle grabbed the sword and disappeared. The king decided that the turtle god had only lent him the sword to drive back the enemy, and having achieved that, the sword was taken back. The Hoa Lo prison, Maison Centrale or Hanoi Hilton, was used initially by French colonists for political prisoners, but during the Vietnam War it was used to house prisoners of war, in both instances under pretty awful conditions. The Temple of Literature was Vietnam's first national university, built in 1070 and dedicated to Confucius. Altars to Confucius and his disciples. We take the overnight Victoria Express train through the mountains northwest of Hanoi to Lao Cai near the Chinese border. After a 35-kilometre drive up to Sapa, we check into the Victoria Sapa Hotel. Sapa was founded as a French hill station in 1922, overlooking a valley of cascading rice terraces and surrounded by mountains. The whole area is spectacular and frequently shrouded in mist.
One crop a year?
Yes, they got one crop for rice and two crops for corn.
This lady is from the Red Zhao people, with her shaved eyebrows and forehead. This lady is Black Hmong. There are several ethnic minority hill tribes in the Sapa area, most of whom originated in southern China. This is indigo for dyeing material, and this is the plant it comes from. Eggs and bacon. About 8 or 9 kilometres from Sapa town, Lao Chai in the Muang Ho Valley is a commune of 3 large villages, home to over 100 Black Hmong families. This woman's hands are stained with indigo dye. Rice is farmed intensively as the main source of income on the lower land along the Muang Ho River, while corn is grown on the mountain slopes at the back of the villages. We leave the Muang Ho Valley at the village of Ta Van and return to the hotel for a late lunch, to find it's lunchtime for the resident goats and rabbits too. Many older women make ethnic style clothes and blankets to sell to tourists. Ha Long Bay is a World Heritage Site featuring thousands of limestone casts and islets of various shapes and sizes. According to legend, the gods sent a family of dragons to help the Vietnamese defend their country. The dragons spat out jewels and jade, which turned into the Bay Islands, which linked to form a barrier against the invaders' ships. After winning the battle, the dragons decided to live in the bay. Where the mother dragon descended was named Ha Long, meaning descending dragon. About 1,600 people live on Ha Long Bay in 4 fishing villages. Families have lived here for generations in their floating homes and mainly earn their livelihood from fishing and the culture of marine biota. The Tien Ong cave is estimated to have housed ancient Viet people between 8,000 to 10,000 years ago. Formed from limestone casts about 700,000 years ago, archaeologists are still discovering stone artefacts from the Hoa Binh culture. Water puppetry originated in the Red River Delta area of North Vietnam in the 11th century. A traditional orchestra provides background music and songs tell the stories being acted out. In ancient Vietnam, it was believed spirits controlled all aspects of their lives, and water puppetry was devised as a way to satisfy these spirits. The puppets are carved from wood and weigh up to 15 kilos. They're controlled by up to 8 puppeteers using long bamboo rods and strings hidden beneath waist-deep water.